Numbers have always fascinated me, especially the ones that don't add up. Like the $5,000 missing from our joint account, or the 3 nights a week Ryan claims he's working late, or the 2 wedding rings I'm staring at on our bedroom dresser. One his, one mine. Only mine is where it should be. I'm Fiona, and I used to write code that made numbers dance. Now I'm just trying to make sense of the ones that keep slapping me in the face. The bank statement trembles in my hands as I scroll through the transactions on my phone. Another withdrawal, this time for $3,500. No note, no explanation, just money vanishing like morning mist. The kind of money that could pay our mortgage for 2 months. Ryan, I call out, my voice steadier than I feel. Can you come here for a minute? His footsteps echo down the hallway, each one matching my quickening pulse. He appears in the doorway, laptop tucked under one arm, that familiar half-smile playing on his lips, the smile that used to make me feel safe. Now it just makes me feel stupid. What's up, honey? I'm in the middle of something important. So am I. I turn my phone screen toward him. Want to explain these withdrawals? The smile doesn't falter, but something shifts behind his eyes. Just some business expenses. You know how it is with the new project. No, Ryan, I don't know how it is, because you never tell me anything anymore. He sets his laptop down with deliberate care. Look, I know you're used to understanding everything, Miss Software Engineer, but some things in business are complicated. Former software engineer, I correct him. The old wound still raw. And basic math isn't complicated. 5,000 here, 3,500 there. That's our savings disappearing. Jesus, Fiona. He runs a hand through his hair, exasperation creeping into his voice. This is exactly why I don't tell you everything. You're just a housewife now. You wouldn't understand the pressures I'm under. The words hit like a physical blow. Just a housewife. 3 years ago, I was leading development teams. Now I'm just a housewife who apparently can't understand basic business concepts. Try me, I challenge him, standing up. Explain it to the housewife who used to debug systems you couldn't even comprehend. Don't start this again. He reaches for his laptop. I have a meeting with Mark in 20 minutes. We can discuss this later. With Mark at 8:30 in the evening? Yes, with Mark. His tone sharpens. Some of us still have careers to maintain. He turns to leave, but I'm not finished. Does Grace know about these late meetings? Ryan freezes, his back to me. For just a moment, I see his shoulders tense. Then he laughs, but it sounds hollow. Mark's wife. What does she have to do with anything? I don't know, Ryan. You tell me. He spins around, and now the smile is gone completely. You know what? I don't have time for your paranoid accusations. When you're ready to act like an adult, we can talk about the finances. The door slams behind him, leaving me alone with the numbers that don't add up and the questions that won't go away. I pick up his wedding ring from the dresser, feeling its weight in my palm. He claims he takes it off to wash his hands, but it's been happening more frequently lately. My phone buzzes. A text from Olivia. Coffee tomorrow. We need to talk. I text back a quick yes before opening my laptop. It's been a while since I've done any serious coding, but some skills never leave you, like tracking digital footprints, or following money trails, or piecing together patterns that others try to hide. Ryan thinks I'm just a housewife who wouldn't understand. He's about to learn how dangerous underestimating someone can be. The coffee shop bustles with morning regulars, but Olivia's face draws my attention like a beacon of worry. She's already ordered my usual black coffee, no sugar, and her fingers drum an anxious rhythm on the ceramic mug. You look like hell, she says, as I slide into the booth. Thanks. I feel worse. I wrap my hands around the warm cup, anchoring myself. Ryan's mother is coming over for dinner tonight. Apparently, she needs to discuss my concerning behavior with both of us. Olivia's eyebrows shoot up. Emily's involved now. That's rich, considering she can't balance her own checkbook without Ryan's help. She called this morning, said she's worried about my accusations and how they might affect Ryan's career. The coffee burns my throat, but I welcome the pain. Funny how she's more concerned about his career than our marriage. Have you shown her the bank statements? Ryan got to her first, told her I'm becoming paranoid, unstable. I let out a bitter laugh. Apparently, giving up my career has left me with too much time to imagine things. A text notification lights up my phone. Emily, bringing that lovely pot roast you used to love. We'll sort this all out tonight, dear. Olivia leans forward, her voice dropping. Listen, there's something else you should know. I saw Ryan yesterday at Meridian Plaza. My stomach clenches. The luxury apartments? He was with a woman, blonde, expensive clothes, around our age. Olivia hesitates. They looked comfortable together. The description matches Grace Turner perfectly. I've met her twice at company functions, watched her laugh at Ryan's jokes with practiced elegance. Did they see you? No, they were too absorbed in each other. Olivia reaches across the table, squeezing my hand. Fee, you need to protect yourself. Start gathering evidence, documenting everything. I already am. I pull out my laptop, typing rapidly. Remember that tracking app I developed at my old company? I modified it last night. Ryan's phone is already sending me location data. Olivia's eyes widen. Is that legal? It's our shared family plan. His phone is technically joint property. The screen fills with data points, each one a digital breadcrumb. Look at this pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 2-hour stops at Meridian Plaza. The same times he's supposedly meeting with Mark. Exactly. I close the laptop, my mind racing. But Mark's usually at the downtown office on Thursdays. I checked his public calendar. The bell above the coffee shop door chimes, and Emily Carter walks in. Her perfectly coiffed hair and pressed outfit, a stark contrast to my hastily thrown-together appearance. She spots us immediately, her practiced smile never reaching her eyes. Fiona, dear, what a lovely surprise. She glides over, ignoring Olivia completely. I was just shopping for tonight's dinner. You are still planning to be there, aren't you? Wouldn't miss it, I reply, matching her tone. Ryan's so busy lately. It's rare to have him home for dinner. Something flickers across Emily's face, doubt, concern, but it's gone in an instant. Yes, well, success requires sacrifice. You understood that when you married him. She pats my shoulder condescendingly. 6:30 sharp, dear, we have so much to discuss. After she leaves, Olivia lets out a low whistle. That woman could freeze hell with a smile. She's always been Team Ryan. I start packing up my laptop. But maybe that's exactly what I need tonight. What are you planning? Emily prides herself on appearances, on her perfect family image. I stand, shouldering my bag. Let's see how she handles it when that image cracks. Fee, be careful. Ryan's got her wrapped around his finger. Maybe, I smile, thinking of the data quietly collecting on my laptop. But even perfect sons make mistakes, and I'm done being the unstable wife who imagines things. Walking home, I check my phone again. Ryan's location blinks steadily at his office, but a quick check of his credit card shows a lunch charge at a restaurant near Meridian Plaza. More numbers that don't add up, more lies piling up like kindling. Tonight, at dinner, I'll strike the first match. Emily wants to discuss my concerning behavior. Fine, let's discuss everything. Every withdrawal, every late meeting, every missing hour. Let's see how many cracks appear in the perfect family facade when the truth starts seeping through. Emily's pot roast sits untouched on my plate, while Ryan regales us with another story about his latest project's success. His mother beams, hanging on every word. But I'm watching his hands. The way his right index finger keeps tapping the stem of his wine glass. A tell he's had since I first met him. And Mark was so impressed with the presentation. He's considering me for the Singapore expansion. Ryan raises his glass. To new beginnings. Singapore? The word drops like a stone in my stomach. You never mentioned Singapore before. Emily jumps in. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? Such an opportunity for advancement. My phone buzzes quietly in my lap. A notification from my tracking app. Grace Turner's Instagram just tagged a new location, Meridian Plaza. I take a slow sip of wine, letting the pieces click into place. Speaking of Mark, I say carefully, How's Grace doing? I heard she's been quite busy lately. Ryan's finger freezes mid-tap. I wouldn't know. Mark handles most of her social engagements. Really? Because I heard she's taken quite an interest in real estate, particularly in Meridian Plaza. The silence that follows is absolute. Emily looks between us, confusion creasing her perfectly maintained facade. Meridian Plaza. Isn't that where that horrible divorce scandal happened last year? The CEO and his secretary. Mother, Ryan warns, but I'm already pulling out my phone. Funny you should mention scandals, Emily. Would you like to see some interesting financial records? I slide my phone across the table. These withdrawals coincide perfectly with the rental payments for Unit 1504 at Meridian Plaza, the same unit Grace visits every Tuesday and Thursday. Emily's face drains of color as she scrolls through the transactions. Ryan, darling, there must be some mistake. There's no mistake. I stand up, my chair scraping against the floor. Your perfect son has been using our savings to fund his affair with his boss's wife. Would you like to see the location data too? Or the credit card statements from all those business dinners? Ryan slams his hand on the table, making the plates jump. That's enough. Mother, Fiona's been unstable lately. She's imagining. Imagining what? I cut him off. The lipstick on your collar last week? The mysterious calls you take in the garage? Or maybe I imagined Grace's car leaving Meridian Plaza 10 minutes after you every Thursday. Emily's hands shake as she sets down my phone. Ryan, please tell me this isn't true. Of course it's not true, but his voice cracks. That familiar tell when he's lying. She's trying to destroy everything I've built because she's jealous of my success. I laugh, and the sound surprises even me. Sharp and cold as broken glass. Success? Is that what you call embezzling company funds to keep your mistress in a luxury apartment? You bitch. Ryan stands, looming over me. You think you're so clever with your little tracking apps and investigations. You're nothing but a washed-up programmer playing detective. Ryan, Emily gasps, but I hold up my hand. No, let him finish. Let him explain to you why he's been stealing from our accounts. Let him tell you about the Singapore position. The one Mark doesn't actually know about yet, because it's just an escape plan with Grace. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a text from Olivia. Mark's on his way. Grace confessed everything. Ryan must see something change in my expression because he grabs his keys. This is ridiculous. I don't have to listen to these accusations. Running to Grace? I call after him. Better hurry. Mark should be there any minute. He freezes in the doorway, and for the first time, I see real fear in his eyes. Emily stands shakily, her perfect world crumbling around her. I trusted you, I say quietly. We both did. But you forgot something important, Ryan. You forgot that before I was your wife, before I was just a housewife, I was the person who designed the security systems you thought you could outsmart. The sound of a car pulling into our driveway makes Ryan flinch. Through the window, I see Mark Turner stepping out, his face set in stone. You wanted new beginnings. I pick up my wine glass, raising it in a mock toast. Well, here they come. The front doorbell rings, and 3 years of lies begin their final unraveling. Emily sinks back into her chair, her pot roast growing cold, while I stand ready to watch everything burn. Sometimes, revenge doesn't need to be served cold. Sometimes, it just needs perfect timing. The aftermath of dinner spreads through our house like a toxic cloud. Mark and Ryan's shouting match in the study has devolved into tense silence, while Emily sits in the living room, mechanically folding and refolding her napkin. I stand in the kitchen, washing dishes that don't need washing, listening to the tick of the clock on the wall. The front door opens and closes. Grace's heels click across the hardwood floor. I recognize her walk now, after all those surveillance videos. She pauses in the kitchen doorway, her designer outfit slightly disheveled, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. He said you were unstable, she says quietly. That you were imagining things because you couldn't handle losing your career. I place another clean plate in the drying rack. Funny how he uses the same lies for everyone. I didn't know about the money. Grace steps closer, her perfume mingling with the dish soap. He told me the apartment was from his bonus. There was no bonus. I turn off the water, finally facing her. Just like there's no Singapore expansion. He's been stealing from both of us. A crash from the study makes us both jump. Emily appears in the doorway, her perfect composure finally cracking. Mark's called the company's legal team. They're pressing charges. The words hang in the air like smoke. Pressing charges. The revenge I wanted now has teeth, and they're sinking deeper than I expected. Fiona. Ryan's voice makes me stiffen. He stands in the kitchen entrance, Mark's looming presence behind him. Tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you misunderstood the transactions. Like you misunderstood your wedding vows. The words come out sharper than I intended. Don't be dramatic. He steps forward, that familiar manipulative smile playing at his lips. We can fix this. Together. Remember when we first met, how you said you'd do anything for us. Ryan. Mark warns, but Ryan continues. I can explain everything. The money, Grace, all of it. But I need you to trust me one more time. For a moment, I almost want to believe him. 3 years of marriage, of shared dreams and promises, pull at me like gravity. Then I notice Grace's hand trembling as she grips her purse. See Emily's devastated expression. And something inside me hardens. Trust you. I reach for my laptop, opening files I've spent weeks compiling. Like you trusted me with this? The screen fills with transaction records, text messages, location data, a digital trail of betrayal laid bare. But it's the last file that makes Ryan's smile finally fade. Photographs from his private email, documenting more than just an affair. Corporate espionage? Mark's voice is deadly quiet. You've been selling our patents? Ryan lunges for the laptop, but I'm faster, stepping back. The money wasn't just for Grace, was it? You needed it to cover your tracks with your other buyers. You bitch. He swings at me, but Mark grabs him, pinning him against the counter. Grace lets out a small scream, and Emily sinks into a kitchen chair. I trusted you, I say, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Even when I found the first discrepancies, I wanted to believe there was an explanation. But you didn't just betray me, Ryan. You betrayed everyone in this room. The sound of sirens grows in the distance. Mark must have called them before confronting Ryan. Grace backs away toward the door, her face ashen. I'm sorry, she whispers, though I'm not sure to whom. Ryan struggles against Mark's grip. You have no idea what you've done. When this gets out, it already has. I show him my phone, where Olivia's text glows. Documents received. Legal team processing everything now. The sirens are louder now. Red and blue lights painting our kitchen walls like a garish nightmare. Emily reaches for my hand, surprising me. I should have seen it, she says softly. All those times he said you were imagining things. We all wanted to believe him. I squeeze her hand, watching as police cars pull into our driveway. That's what makes a good liar so dangerous. Ryan's face contorts with rage and fear as uniformed officers approach our door. In this moment, I should feel triumph, satisfaction, the sweet taste of revenge. Instead, I feel something unexpected. Freedom. The weight of secrets and lies lifts from my shoulders like a heavy coat, leaving me lighter, clearer. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes you have to set it free yourself. And damn the consequences. The police station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across Mark's face as he slides a manila envelope across the interview room table. There's more, he says, his voice tight. The patents weren't just being sold. They were being weaponized. I open the envelope with trembling fingers, spreading out documents that make my stomach turn. Lines of code I recognize. My code, from projects I'd worked on years ago, twisted and repurposed into something malicious. Ryan didn't just steal from the company, Mark continues. He sold your old security protocols to competitors. They're using them to build backdoors into financial systems. The room suddenly feels too small, too bright. My protocols were defensive. They were meant to protect. I know. Mark rubs his temples. That's why we need your help. You're the only one who understands how these systems work. A detective enters, carrying coffee I didn't ask for. Mrs. Carter, we'll need you to testify about the original code architecture. No. The word comes out before I can stop it. I can't be involved. The evidence you have is enough. It's not. Mark leans forward. Without your testimony, Ryan's lawyers will claim the code modifications were authorized. He's already spinning a story about you hacking company servers for revenge. My coffee cup trembles, dark liquid sloshing over the rim. Of course, Ryan would try to turn this around, make me the villain. Even now, he's playing chess while I'm playing catch-up. My phone buzzes. Olivia, Emily's at my house. She found something in Ryan's old files. Come quick. I need time to think, I tell Mark, standing up. The detective starts to protest, but Mark waves him off. 24 hours, Mark says. That's all we can give you. The drive to Olivia's house feels surreal. Streetlights blurring past like stars. Emily meets me at the door, clutching a leather portfolio I recognize from Ryan's study. I was cleaning, she says, hands shaking as she opens it. I thought if I kept things normal. Inside are more documents, bank statements, offshore accounts, and emails dating back 5 years. Before our marriage, before everything. He planned this, Emily whispers. He chose you because of your expertise, because you could give him access to— Stop. The word comes out sharp enough to make both Emily and Olivia flinch. I scan the emails, each one a knife, twisting deeper. Ryan discussing my capabilities with unknown contacts, evaluating my potential usefulness, planning how to convince me to leave my job. Fiona, Olivia starts, but I'm already moving, grabbing my keys. Where are you going? Emily calls after me. To finish this, the drive to the detention center, where they're holding Ryan, takes 20 minutes. I spend each one remembering every lie, every manipulation, every moment I doubted myself because he told me I was being paranoid. He's waiting in the visitation room, orange jumpsuit stark against his pale skin. The smile he gives me is the same one he used when telling me I was imagining things. I knew you'd come, he says. You always were predictable. Like how you predicted I'd quit my job to support your career. I lay Emily's portfolio on the table between us. Or how you predicted I'd be too broken to notice what you were doing with my old code. The smile falters, just slightly. Everything I did was for us. No. I lean forward, dropping my voice. Everything you did was because you underestimated me. You thought I was just a housewife who wouldn't understand. Be careful, Fiona. His voice hardens. You're not the only one with evidence. One phone call, and certain people will be very interested in your recent activities. You mean like the tracking software? The financial traces? I smile, and for the first time, I see real fear in his eyes. Go ahead, show them. Every line of code is documented, every access point logged. I learned from the best, after all. Standing, I gather the portfolio. I'm testifying tomorrow, not for Mark, not for the company, but for every person you've manipulated and betrayed. And when I'm done, you won't just lose your freedom, you'll lose your last shred of control. You'll regret this, he calls as I reach the door. You have no idea what you're starting. I turn back, meeting his gaze one last time. No, Ryan, I'm not starting anything. I'm finishing what you began. The door closes behind me with a final click, and I step into the evening air, my path suddenly clear. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about reclaiming your own power, one truth at a time. The courtroom feels like a trap closing in. Each tick of the wall, clock another tooth in the mechanism. I sit at the witness stand, my carefully prepared testimony crumbling, as Ryan's lawyer circles like a shark that smells blood. Ms. Carter, isn't it true that you developed the original security protocols while employed at TechCore? Yes, and these protocols were company property, correct? His smile reminds me of Ryan's. Practiced, predatory. The base code was. The modifications. were made by my client under authorized company directives. He slides a document across to the judge. Exhibit C, Mr. Carter's project authorization, signed by the board. Mark shifts in his seat, his face dark. We hadn't known about this document. Another of Ryan's chess moves, played perfectly. Ms. Carter, the lawyer continues, please explain to the court how you obtained the tracking data on my client's movements. My throat tightens. This is the trap, the one Ryan warned me about. I used a modified version of company proprietary software you no longer had legal access to. The judge leans forward. Ms. Carter, did you illegally access company systems to track your husband? The courtroom spins. Everything I'd built, all the evidence I'd gathered, Ryan's lawyer is turning it against me, piece by piece. I catch Emily's eye in the gallery. She looks away. Your Honor, Mark's lawyer interjects. The defendant's activities were instrumental in uncovering corporate espionage. Ryan's lawyer cuts in smoothly. My client was conducting an authorized internal investigation into security breaches. Ms. Carter's unauthorized surveillance actually compromised that investigation. My hands grip the witness stand. The lie is so perfect, so carefully constructed. Ryan isn't just destroying my credibility. He's rewriting history. Furthermore, his lawyer produces another document. We have evidence that Ms. Carter attempted to access offshore accounts using company resources. Those were Ryan's accounts. I protest, but my voice sounds weak even to me. Accounts used in the authorized investigation, which you attempted to compromise. The judge calls a recess, but the damage is done. In the hallway, Mark approaches with his lawyer, their faces grim. He planned this, Mark says, quietly. The board authorization, the investigation cover story. He's been setting this up for months. What about the patent sales, the stolen money? All documented under official company operations. Mark's lawyer shakes his head. He had paperwork for everything. We can't prove it was fraudulent without my testimony. I lean against the wall, feeling the cold marble against my spine, which he just destroyed. Olivia appears, clutching her phone. Fiona, it's worse. Someone leaked your tracking software to the press. They're calling it corporate surveillance, saying you were spying on multiple employees. Ryan, I whisper, of course. He's not just discrediting my testimony. He's making me the villain of the story. Grace passes by with her lawyer, not meeting anyone's eyes. She's cut a deal, I realize. Ryan's offered her immunity in exchange for supporting his version of events. My phone buzzes. An email from the district attorney. They're considering charges against me for corporate espionage and illegal surveillance, the very crimes I was trying to expose. We can fight this, Mark starts, but I shake my head. He wins. The words taste like ash. He took everything I had, my marriage, my career, my reputation, and turned it into a weapon against me. Emily approaches hesitantly, holding a newspaper. The headline makes my stomach lurch. Tech wife's revenge. Plot exposes corporate privacy concerns. I'm sorry, she whispers. I never thought he would. None of us did. I push away from the wall, walking toward the courthouse doors. Outside, reporters wait with cameras and microphones, ready to capture my fall from Grace. Behind me, I hear Olivia calling my name, but I keep walking. 3 years of marriage, 15 years of career experience, a lifetime of trust and justice. All of it lies shattered on the courthouse floor. Ryan's words from the detention center echo in my head. You have no idea what you're starting. He was right. I thought I was fighting for truth, for justice, for revenge. Instead, I walked right into his perfect trap, becoming the villain in his carefully crafted story. The cameras flash as I push through the courthouse doors. Each burst of light, another nail in the coffin of my old life. Sometimes revenge doesn't just fail, it becomes the very thing that destroys you. The USB drive feels impossibly small in my hand as I stand outside Ryan's office. Through the glass walls, I can see him at his desk, basking in his courtroom victory. The security badge clipped to my blouse, courtesy of Mark's last act before his resignation, might be my final chance to set things right. Mrs. Carter, Ryan's assistant, blinks in surprise. I didn't think. It's fine, Sarah. Ryan's voice carries that familiar condescending warmth. Let her in. I think my wife and I are overdue for a chat. The door clicks shut behind me. Ryan leans back, adjusting his tie, the blue one I gave him for our second anniversary. Come to concede defeat properly? Instead of answering, I plug the USB drive into his computer. His smile falters as dozens of windows pop up on his screen. What is this? The truth. My voice stays steady as I perch on the edge of his desk. Not the sanitized version you fed the court, the real logs, showing every transaction, every meeting, every lie. He starts to reach for the computer, but I catch his wrist. Touch it, and these files automatically upload to every board member, the SEC, and 3 major tech blogs. You're bluffing. But uncertainty creeps into his voice. The court already ruled. The court ruled on what they could prove. But you taught me well, Ryan. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about winning. It's about having better leverage. His screen fills with more documents, the real board authorizations, showing his forgeries, Grace's original emails, detailing their plan, the actual financial trails he thought he'd hidden. How did you get access? You really should change your passwords more often. Emily Carter 58 isn't exactly cryptographic genius. The color drains from his face as he scrolls through the files. This will destroy everything. The company, the deals, your perfect facade. I stand, moving toward the door. That's the point. Wait. He rises, desperation replacing his usual confidence. We can make a deal, whatever you want, money, position, full confession. Like the deal you made with Grace? The words strike like physical blows. Or the one you made with those tech companies, selling out everything I built? I did it for us. He slams his hand on the desk. Everything I built, every move I made, was for yourself. Emily's voice cuts through the room. She stands in the doorway, holding her own USB drive. I found your original plans, Ryan. From before you even met Fiona. Ryan's face contorts. Mother, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. Emily steps inside, closing the door. I understood when I found your notes about targeting Fiona for her expertise. I understood when I discovered your offshore accounts, the ones you've had since before the marriage. You helped me destroy her credibility. He snarls. You sided with me. I protected you, like I always have. Emily's voice cracks. But I can't protect you from this. His computer chimes. New windows opening. Board members responding to emergency messages. Security alerts flashing across the screen. What have you done? Ryan whispers. Nothing you haven't already done to yourself. I move toward the door. The board has everything now. The real documents, the genuine trails. Your perfect trap is about to snap shut on you instead. He lunges for his phone, but it's already too late. Through the glass walls, we can see security approaching, followed by stern-faced board members. You'll go down with me, he threatens. Everything you did was documented and authorized. I hold up another drive. Mark signed off on my internal investigation before he resigned. Everything I did was legal, unlike your corporate espionage. The door opens. Board members file in, their faces grim. Ryan straightens his tie one last time, trying to summon his old confidence, but it crumbles under the weight of truth. Sometimes, I say quietly, the best revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about letting them destroy themselves. As security escorts Ryan out, Emily touches my arm. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. We see what we want to see. I watch Ryan disappear down the hallway, his shoulders finally slumped in defeat. Until we can't anymore. The board chairman approaches with a thick envelope. Mrs. Carter, we'd like to discuss your future with the company. I take the envelope, feeling its weight, not just paper, but possibility. Sometimes revenge doesn't end in destruction. Sometimes it ends in resurrection. The corner office still smells of fresh paint and new beginnings. My laptop screen glows with lines of code. Not weapons or traps this time, but shields. Protection. The irony doesn't escape me that I'm rebuilding the very security systems Ryan tried to destroy. A knock at the door interrupts my coding flow. Olivia stands there, holding a newspaper. Thought you might want to see this. The headline reads, "Tech executive pleads guilty to corporate espionage." Below it, a smaller headline, "Former employee appointed head of security division." "Strange," Olivia says, perching on my desk. "They didn't mention you were his wife." "Ex-wife." I close the newspaper. And that's exactly how I want it. My phone buzzes. A text from Emily. "Signed the house over today. It's yours now." I type back a quick thank you, remembering our last conversation in the kitchen, where everything started. She'd said something that stuck with me. Sometimes the strongest walls aren't the ones we build around ourselves, but the ones we tear down. The elevator chimes, and Grace steps out, clutching a cardboard box. Her eyes meet mine through the glass walls. For a moment, we just look at each other, two women who trusted the same lie. She sets the box by the reception desk and leaves without a word. Inside, I know I'll find the evidence she kept as insurance against Ryan, now surrendered as her final act of penance. The board meeting starts in 10, Olivia reminds me. Ready to present the new security protocols? I stand, smoothing my blazer. Almost. Just need to finish this last sequence. My fingers fly over the keyboard, adding one final layer to the system. Not just protection against external threats, but internal ones too. A safeguard against the kind of manipulation and betrayal that Ryan specialized in. "You know," Olivia says quietly, "when you first found those withdrawals, I thought you were going to destroy him." I did too. I save the code and close my laptop. But revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes it's about reconstruction. The conference room fills with board members, their faces expectant. As I set up my presentation, I catch a glimpse of my reflection in the window. No longer the housewife who wouldn't understand, but not quite the same engineer I was before either. Something new, forged in the fire of betrayal and tempered by choice. My phone buzzes one last time. An unknown number. "You were right. About everything. R." I delete the message without responding. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. "Mrs. Carter?" The board chairman gestures for me to begin. "Show us what you've created." I stand before them, my presentation ready, but instead of launching into technical specifications, I start with a simple truth. Security isn't just about keeping threats out. It's about recognizing them before they become part of your foundation. The board members lean forward, interested. Through the glass walls, I can see Olivia giving me a thumbs up, while Emily waves from the reception area, dropping off lunch like she still does sometimes. Not out of obligation now, but choice. My new security system fills the screen behind me. Complex, elegant, and unlike anything Ryan could have twisted or sold. Because this time, it's built not just with code, but with understanding. Understanding of how trust can be weaponized, how love can blind, and how strength sometimes means letting go of the very revenge you thought you needed. The system has one unique feature, I explain, pulling up the final screen. It learns from every attempt to breach it, growing stronger not by building higher walls, but by understanding why people try to climb them in the first place. As I launch into the technical details, I realize that's exactly what I've done too. Grown stronger not by destroying Ryan, but by understanding how he almost destroyed me. The revenge I thought I wanted has transformed into something else entirely. Not an ending, but a beginning. The code on the screen pulses with possibility, each line a promise of protection, each function a lesson learned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting better. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's about building something so strong that the past becomes nothing more than a shadow against its walls.
Hi everyone, I'm Rose, a single parent who once had a beautiful family. This story is about how my husband lost the love of his wife and children. It happened a while back, and I'm already on the road to recovery. I wanted to share my story so that no one makes the same mistakes I did. I'm an avid painter and have always loved art. My passion began in childhood, inspired by my mother, who was a painter herself. Although she never achieved fame, I admired her work. We came from a humble background, with my father being the breadwinner. Despite not working, my dad cherished and praised my mom for taking care of our family. Naturally, I assumed that love and respect were enough for a good marriage, but I was wrong. I was a shy, introverted kid in school with no friends. My grades were okay, but nothing special. My dream was to go to art school, and my parents supported me unconditionally. My life was set until I met Tom in high school. Tom and I studied together for a few years without interacting until one day he approached me. "Hello, you're Rose, right? I'm Tom, your classmate. I don't think we've talked before." "Hi Tom, what's up? Actually, I need a favor. I've seen your sketches in the school locker, and I must say, you're extremely talented." "Thank you. I'm glad you like them. It's Mother's Day next week, and I was thinking of giving her some of your sketches. Can you please sketch my mom? In return, I can help you with your math homework for a week." "I'd be happy to help, Tom. I actually hate math, so I'm good with the arrangement." "Great. How about we meet at a coffee shop for the exchange? The treat is on me." I was ecstatic that someone found my sketches interesting enough to make them a gift. That's how I started spending time with Tom. Our meetings at the coffee shop quickly turned into dates. Tom was a straight-A student with a bright future, and I was flattered that he made time for me. He stood up against bullies and was loved by everyone. It was easy to love him. Tom dreamed of getting a business degree and taking his father's small company to the next level. It's my dream to take my father's business to the next level. I'm so proud of what he's created, and one day I hope to make it even more successful. And I'm sure you will. I have faith in you. You'll definitely get into your dream college. I hope you get to study art and remain passionate about it. You have lots of potential. I connect with you because of your passion for art. I guess we're similar in many ways. I love that you value my passion. You've accompanied me to all my competitions and stood by me for so long. I remember when I won a prize for painting, you cheered the loudest. I was happy to have such a supportive boyfriend. He introduced me to his family before our prom, and I liked them immediately. They were great parents to Tom. I developed a close relationship with his mom, Charlotte, and we hung out a lot before I left for art school. Tom joined a prestigious college as a business major, and we were both following our dreams. I even took him to meet my parents on Christmas, and they loved him as much as I did. Sadly, when I was still in college, my parents passed away in a car accident. I was devastated. Tom was my rock through it all, helping me arrange the funeral and calming me down during panic attacks. Despite the pain and grief, I thought I could rely on him for anything, but I was wrong. 6 months after my parents passed away, I found out I was pregnant. It was a mix of happiness and anxiety. I had just lost my parents and didn't know how I was going to take care of a baby. My studies were taxing, and balancing everything became difficult. Charlotte moved closer to help babysit my child while I was in college. Tom's father was in a different state, so he didn't mind if Charlotte lived with me. With everything in place, we looked forward to the birth of our baby boy. My family supported me whenever I needed it. However, after my son Max was born, everything came crashing down. I had a traumatic delivery and struggled to recover. In the end, I had to drop out of college. Postpartum depression and physical problems made it impossible for me to study. I was heartbroken, but my son needed me to be okay. Charlotte and Tom were my biggest support during this time. However, Tom slowly became resentful. "You know, I can't help but think this is your fault. I can rarely go out anymore while you're having a great time being home with Max. I'm the one working hard to provide for the two of you. I'm sorry, Tom. You know I'm still in recovery. I'm trying my best to look for a job, but Max is very young, and we can't afford a babysitter. Charlotte is already working hard to help. Just give me some time, I will find something. What job will hire you anyway? You have a useless degree that won't get you a job. You already spent most of your inheritance on medical bills. You're literally useless right now. Don't say that, Tom. You knew studying art was my passion. You were so supportive of me when I joined college. I never imagined I would be in this situation. If there was any way I could help you, I would. Just give me a few months to find a job. Tom simply got up and left that night. I cried a lot after putting Max to sleep. His words kept ringing in my ears. I decided to start looking for jobs as soon as possible. No matter what, I was determined to ease Tom's burden. Tom later called and apologized for his behavior, explaining that he was feeling down and his friends were putting ideas into his head. I forgave him immediately. Within a week, I found a job. It didn't pay much, but it was enough for the time being. Charlotte took up most of the childcare while I worked. I made Tom quit his job so he could concentrate on his studies. I didn't want him to overwork himself while studying. Times were rough, but we made it work. Tom slowly changed his behavior toward me and promised to take care of me when he became financially independent. I told him that I loved him and only wanted him to achieve his dreams. After Tom graduated from college, he took over the family business. His father, who was suffering from a heart condition, passed away within a year of Tom joining the business. Tom did his best to improve the company, and his efforts were slowly starting to pay off. I had to quit my job to look after Max because Charlotte was grieving, and we didn't want to burden her with Max's care. Tom was making enough money to support us, so he wasn't bothered by my decision to stay home. Soon, his business really took off, and he achieved his dream. I was happy for him and organized big celebrations to honor his success. One day, I approached Tom and expressed my desire to return to art school. I still had some inheritance money left that could pay for 1 year, and after that, I planned to take up jobs to fund my education. However, Tom was not receptive to the idea. Why do you want to go back to school? An art degree is useless anyway. It's not going to help you get a job. I think you shouldn't waste money on this. This was my dream, Tom. You know I wanted to become a painter. You achieved your dream, what about me? Well, my dream is bringing in the money. Yours is just a useless hobby. What good will that do for us? My friends will laugh at me for your dumb degree. I have to maintain our standards. You should be a housewife, Max needs you more. I was stunned and didn't know how to react. We argued for days without reaching a resolution. However, I was preparing myself to prove him wrong. I wanted to become successful and achieve my dream. Sadly, this was never to be, as I found out I was pregnant again, this time with a baby girl. Tom became even more insistent that I stay at home, arguing that he worked long hours and the kids needed someone at home. Reluctantly, I agreed to focus on my children. They were my world, and I was willing to do everything for them. My second birth was less traumatic, but managing a toddler and a baby was extremely difficult. Tom was absolutely no help. All he did was work and complain about being tired. He never looked after the kids. I was surprised when Tom finally proposed to me. I thought he was trying to improve, and that made me happy. We had a big wedding, which was extremely fun to plan. Tom pampered me throughout the process, and I believed he was doing it to make me happy. It turned out he was doing it to maintain his image of a loving husband. After the wedding, it was as if I no longer existed to Tom. He worked all day in his office, and there were no date nights or even family nights. He never picked up after himself and only ordered me around. The kids missed their dad, who wanted to be left alone when he was at home. I never asked him for help after he ignored my requests in the first year. However, my children's pain was getting to me. One day, I said, "Tom, why don't we have a family outing this weekend? The kids really miss you. You know I have a business meeting this weekend." "I'm busy," Tom replied. "But you need to make time for your family, Tom. We're important too. Max has been crying for you. You even missed his poem recital." "What can I do, Rose? I don't have the luxury to stay at home with them like you do. At least someone has to earn money, right? A failure like you wouldn't understand. I suggest you stop telling me what to do." "Tom, what is wrong with you? Why are you insulting me like that? You know I wanted to go back to college, but you didn't let me." "Of course I didn't. Why would I let you waste money on that? You were better off investing it in my business. Look how much money it's bringing us." Extremely hurt by what he had said, I started to see past his neglect over the years. However, it really hurt when he insulted me like that. It made me feel worthless. I should have walked away from him, but I didn't. I wanted my children to have both parents under one roof. I thought Tom was just stressed and would apologize later. The apology never came. As the years passed, the kids grew older and started to notice Tom's behavior. They were no longer attached to him. Lily never experienced him as a loving parent, so she had no attachment to her dad. Max remembered his dad being more loving in the past, but the disappointment of Tom missing every milestone quickly added up. I tried everything to make the bad feelings disappear. I begged Tom to pay more attention to the children. "You need to make time for the kids, Tom. I'm already working hard and looking after them. I'm the only one taking up parental duties. I know you don't want me anymore, but the kids are suffering. They've already become detached from you. I know how to be a parent, Rose. I'm the one feeding the three of you. You don't have to lecture me about improving our relationship." When Max became a teenager, he started to resent his dad. I tried to make him understand that Tom loved them, but he wouldn't believe me. All his friends had fathers who were present in their lives, and he felt like he was missing out. I was there for all his events and achievements, but he wanted his dad there too. One night while we were having dinner, Max confronted Tom. "Hey Dad, are you free this weekend? Lily has been pestering us for a picnic. The weather is getting better, and it's the perfect time. Yes, it would be a great opportunity to hang out together. I'll make all the preparations. What do you think, Tom?" I added. "No can do. I'm going golfing with my buddies. Can't change my plans. It's one day, and you can't make time for us. Why did you even become a dad if you didn't want to be around us?" Max said, his voice trembling with frustration. "Watch your mouth, Max. I am your father, and you will respect me. I actually have work to do instead of sitting around like your loser mother." "Rose, what are you teaching my children? They don't even respect me anymore. I thought you just failed in your career, but it turns out you can't even be a good mother. Stop insulting Mom. She's a way better parent than you are. How do you expect her to have a career when you never helped her out? I'm not blind, you know. I saw what happened all these years. Stop it, Max. There's no use telling him these things. We have Mama, and that's enough. We can just go out with Mom and Grandma," Lily interjected. "See, at least one of you has some sense." "I hope that ends this stupid discussion," Tom snapped. "It's okay, kids. I will take you out for a picnic. We'll plan something without Dad," I reassured them. I didn't want to make Max or Tom angry, but I noticed that Lily, who had remained apathetic towards her father, did not take his side at all. She simply didn't care for his time or attention. I always thought it was my fault. I could have fought harder with Tom to spend more time with us, but he never listened to me. By then, I also found out he had been cheating on me with one of his business friends. I didn't confront him, I knew it would be useless. Max graduated high school and left at the first opportunity, joining a prestigious college to study software engineering. Lily, however, was determined to follow in my footsteps. She was an even better artist than me and was adamant about joining art school. Max supported her, encouraging her to go for it, but I knew Tom would be furious. When the conversation finally happened, it went like this. Lily, you will be graduating this year. Do you have a plan? I mean, what are you even good at? Don't talk to her like that. She is a good student, Tom, I interjected. Well, I'm going to art school. Don't worry, I don't expect you to know what I am good at, Dad. I have Mom, Max, and my teachers for that, Lily replied confidently. Art school, Rose. Did you fill my daughter's head with your nonsense again? Lily, you should know better than to waste your life like your mother. Do you want to be a failure like her? Mom failed only because she had a husband like you. Thankfully, I have all the support and talent I need to be successful. Don't talk to me like that. There is no way I'm paying for this useless degree. Well, you don't have to. My teachers say I would get a good scholarship in no time. I don't care if you don't support me. It's nothing new. Calm down, guys. Tom, Lily is really good at what she does, even better than me. Please try to be supportive this one time, I pleaded. Tom just kept shouting at me for spoiling his children, again calling me a failure in front of Lily. After all these years of abuse, I had enough. I sent Lily to her room before tearing into my husband. I am tired of your verbal abuse, Tom. You have been a horrible husband to me. The only reason I stayed was because of the children. If I had known you'd be such a bad father, I would have walked away sooner. Don't you dare call me a bad father. I'm the one putting food on the table. You're all nothing without me and my money. I would have made something of myself if you didn't stop me. You can keep your money, Tom. I don't need it. I'm getting a divorce after Lily graduates. I am done with you. You can't leave me after everything I have done for you. I deserve better from everyone. Done. Like you cheated on me with your colleague. I know it all, Tom. There's no need for you to play the victim. I am the victim here. You deserve nothing and you definitely don't deserve me. Tom was absolutely dumbstruck by my onslaught. When I was done talking, he had his head in his hands and said nothing, as if he didn't care anymore. In the next few days, I started to prepare for my exit. I talked to Charlotte, Max, and Lily about my decision. All of them were supportive of me. I'm sorry he did this to you, Rose. I don't know where I went wrong with him. His father would be disappointed in him. I can't believe he did this to you, Charlotte said tearfully. It's not your fault. You have been nothing but kind to me and my children. Tom is the only one responsible for his behavior, I reassured her. I served Tom divorce papers just after Lily's graduation. Tom acted like he didn't see it coming, begging me to reconsider and promising he would do better. He approached me and said, Rose, please don't go through with the divorce. Give me a chance. I know I messed up. I still love you a lot, Rose. I want to get better. Even the kids hate me. Don't leave me like this. You have made your bed, Tom, and now you have to lie in it. I stayed for too long. I gave you plenty of chances. I can't do it anymore. This marriage was over when you stopped putting in effort and cheated on me. I don't love her, Rose. She was just an escape from the stress. She doesn't mean anything to me. I'm sorry I wasn't supportive of you. I can change if you just have faith in me. I don't care anymore, Tom. You have taken away every last bit of dignity I had. It's time to leave you for good. I deserve better than you.
I'm an elite banker, so I deserve to remarry a beautiful and competent girlfriend. Being with a gloomy woman like you is bad luck for me. I'm divorcing a useless person who doesn't earn a penny. How can you say that? What about our child? What are you planning to do? You take care of Lily. I'm going to have a new child with my mistress. Left by my husband with my daughter, and to make matters worse, he started talking about remarrying after getting his mistress pregnant. Fed up with my husband's attitude, I decided to divorce. The divorce went through smoothly, but I had other important things to do. I went to my husband's workplace to handle an important procedure where my husband and his mistress, smirking, approached me. "Did you miss me so much that you came to my workplace? Haha, you must have come to withdraw savings since you don't have money as a housewife, right?" Facing the two of them, looking down on me like trash, I told them with a cold expression, I came to withdraw $6 million. Upon learning that I had won a large sum from a lottery ticket I bought on a whim, my husband desperately begged for my forgiveness, completely changing his tune. My name is Emily. I am currently 32 years old. My childhood dream was to become a caregiver. I wanted to be helpful to people. After graduating from high school, I attended a specialized school for care welfare and successfully passed. I was able to fulfill my childhood dream. Working as a caregiver was hard, but I found great fulfillment in being thanked by the patients. One day, I was invited to a mixer by a close coworker. There I met Ethan. My first impression was, wow, he's handsome. I wanted to talk to him, but he seemed like the cool, quiet type, and I wondered if he disliked such events. However, as luck would have it, we were headed in the same direction afterward. As we walked to the station together, I found he was surprisingly talkative, and we had a great time. Ethan was just shy, not cool or anything. I found that gap endearing. We quickly became close and decided to get married. However, through mutual acquaintances, I later learned that Ethan had another girlfriend at the time. I was shocked to discover it was a case of two-timing, but I only found out after we were married. Regardless, I believed he had chosen me purely out of love. In the early days of our marriage, we enjoyed watching sports and going to the movies on our days off, fully enjoying our newlywed life. Buying lottery tickets became a shared hobby. It started when we first stumbled upon a lottery ticket vendor while going to a sports event. We bought a sports lottery ticket on a whim. Surprisingly, we won. It was probably beginner's luck. It wasn't a huge amount, but we got quite into it, buying small amounts regularly. For example, we'd buy tickets on days considered lucky, or if my horoscope was good that day. It was one of the few hobbies we both enjoyed. By our 4th year of marriage, we wanted a child but were having trouble conceiving. We were considering fertility treatments when we discovered I was pregnant. That's great, Emily. We're finally going to be parents. When I confirmed the positive pregnancy test, my husband was teary-eyed with joy. I'm so happy. But we can only be sure after going to the OB/GYN, right? I'm so anxious, but somehow I feel everything will be okay. It's just a hunch. The next day, I nervously went to the OB/GYN. The doctor confirmed on the ultrasound, "Congratulations, you are pregnant." I could see for myself that I was indeed pregnant. I was so happy that I immediately emailed my husband from the hospital's waiting room. I'm pregnant, just entered the 5th week. Once we're in the safe period, we need to tell both our parents. The email was read immediately, and he replied, "Really? That's great. I'm so happy. Thank you, Emily. Please take care getting home." He usually takes a while to respond, but he must have been really happy this time. I returned home savoring my happiness. That night, it's going to be exciting from now on, Ethan. Do you want a boy or a girl? Tough choice. I'd be happy with either, but if it's a girl, I might be too sad when she gets married. If it's a boy, it'd be fun to play a lot while he's small. Well, yeah, but if it's a girl, I'd love to talk about love stories with her. We had such light-hearted conversations while eating dinner. Soon after, we found out the baby's gender. Throughout the pregnancy, my husband supported me, and although it was tough, I had a happy maternity life without any major problems. Time flew by, and I safely gave birth to a lovely baby girl we named Lily. We talked about overcoming challenges together as a couple, but after the pregnancy and birth, I quit my job. Originally, I worked as a caregiver, which was physically demanding and involved night shifts, so continuing was difficult. However, my husband's attitude changed drastically after I became a full-time housewife. When we both worked full-time, we shared household chores. But once I became a housewife, he would say things like, "You've been at home all day, right? Why haven't you cleaned? You must be bored, right? Make more elaborate meals." And started to berate me with his attitude like that. Our marital relationship gradually weakened. And although we shared a bed, our intimate life became non-existent. He only tolerates sleeping in the same bed because he has nowhere else to sleep. He even says, "I don't even want to sleep with you." I think to myself, then sleep on the floor, but I can never actually say that. We hardly have any meaningful conversations anymore. Ethan only talks about practical matters. Even when I try to initiate a conversation, he doesn't listen and just responds indifferently. "Hey, about the drama yesterday. Listen, today, Lily. Did I see?" That's how our conversations go. He only responds with or "I see." He doesn't seem interested in expanding the conversation. The only time he gives a proper response is when he's angry. "What's this food? It's too bland. I can't enjoy this meal. I thought too much flavor isn't good for health. Shut up. You can't cook. Your cleaning is sloppy. You're completely useless at everything. If I hadn't married you, a woman like you wouldn't have been picked up by anyone." He often says things like that. Eventually, he even treats our 3-year-old daughter Lily coldly. "Daddy, look. Lily drew this." She shows him a drawing of him, but he just dismisses it with, "Oh, I see." A child wouldn't grow fond of such a father. Still, I try hard not to upset him and avoid fights. But lately, I've been thinking, Emily thought, am I just a housemaid under the guise of a housewife? At home, he's like this, but he works at a major bank. My friends envy me, saying, "Wow, a banker husband. You're so lucky, and he seems to love you so much." Indeed, Ethan is good at keeping up appearances. Once at a friend's wedding, he said in front of everyone, "Emily is great at cooking, cleaning, and laundry. She's a really good wife." Hearing this, my friends were all excited, exclaiming, "Wow, that's so sweet." However, in reality, at home, he has no interest in me or our daughter and is just an abusive husband. He's a completely different person at home and outside. And my husband, Ethan, was incredibly selfish. On weekends, he'd leave without saying where he was going, returning home past midnight, never helping with household chores or childcare during the week. I never knew when he'd finish work. He'd come home late without any explanation. And if I asked, he'd snap, "What I do and where I go is none of your business." Just be grateful that an elite like me brings money home. He'd even say, you're always at home, but can't handle household chores. A useless person like you has no right to complain to an elite like me. You've lost all your charm and don't look like a woman anymore, just using childcare as an excuse. I was devastated and cried when he first said that. Despite that, I didn't give up and tried to rebuild our relationship. But with Ethan hardly ever home and always in a bad mood in the mornings, our lives just drifted apart. This led to a de facto separation within our home. Others might think I should just get a divorce. Indeed, the thought of divorce had crossed my mind many times. But as a full-time housewife, could I raise my young daughter Lily alone? Would I be able to find a job quickly if I started job hunting now? I worried about whether I could fulfill Lily's wishes like attending classes or going to college and provide her with a comfortable life. One day, I was at the supermarket alone buying groceries. Then I saw a lottery stand in the corner with a sign that said, "Lucky Day." Emily thought I used to buy lottery tickets with Ethan when we saw that sign. Those were happy times. I reminisced about the happier days, but those seemed like a distant past now. Ethan had changed. In a fit of desperation, I went to the lottery stand, buying a ticket alone for the first time. I thought, why not, and bought one. I might even talk to Ethan about buying the lottery ticket. If I win, maybe we could have a light-hearted conversation like we used to, like, let's do this or let's go there. With that faint hope, I returned home. But even that day, Ethan didn't come home until after 10 p.m., after putting Lily to bed. I was watching TV on the living room sofa when I got a call from Ethan's phone. "Hello, what time are you coming home? Are you Ethan's wife?" I heard an unfamiliar woman's voice. A bad feeling washed over me, and I felt a chill. "Who are you?" "I'm Karen. I'm Ethan's girlfriend. Your husband is sleeping right next to me." The caller was Ethan's mistress. "I've been wanting to talk to you. I love Ethan, and he feels the same. To be blunt, we want you to get a divorce." Ethan said, "My housewife wife is almost done serving her purpose. He'll probably bring it up soon, so please start preparing for the divorce." I was furious at my cheating husband, but I had been unaware of his affairs before and during our marriage. I had suspected him of cheating. He always came home around 10 p.m. on weekdays and was never home on weekends. He was glued to his phone and avoided any physical contact with me. While I wasn't surprised by his affair, Karen's brazen and unapologetic manner made my skin crawl. Her confident and triumphant tone, and the thought of Ethan sleeping soundly at his mistress's house every night, phone in hand, made my blood boil. "I see. I can't say anything without talking to my husband, so I'll end the call now. Let's talk again later." "No, it'll be the same even if you talk to Ethan. I'm pregnant. It's Ethan's child. Please get a divorce as soon as possible for the sake of this baby in my belly." Karen's statement left me speechless. "Pregnant? You must be kidding." "No joke. I'm an elite banker. I'll provide for Karen and the baby," Ethan said. "So I'll marry him, and we'll raise this child together. Time for a wife swap, haha. Oh, and can you send Ethan's stuff over to my place quickly? This woman must be out of her mind. I have a precious, beautiful daughter at home." And Ethan parading around as an elite banker everywhere was just appalling. I was so fed up that I calmly asked for her address instead of arguing. "All right, what's your address?" I said. She replied, "Oh, aren't you obedient? It's at XX Town, YY City." I noted it down meticulously and hung up. Ethan returned home late, admitting to the affair as soon as I confronted him about Karen's call. "Oh, she just spills everything, haha. I'm an elite banker, so I deserve someone beautiful and confident like Karen. I stayed with you, a mere housewife, thinking you might be useful. But lately, I've realized that being with a gloomy woman like you brings down my luck. I'm divorcing a useless person who doesn't earn a penny, Hava. His cruel words felt like sharp stabs to my heart. Luck, useless housewife, but we have a daughter to think about. I gathered my strength to ask. What about Lily? You take care of Lily. I'm going to have a new child. Of course, I'll pay the property division. A mere housewife like you can't live without it, haha. Unlike you, it's easy for a high earner like me to pay property division, haha. No apology, no regard for our daughter. Does this man even have a heart? Something inside me snapped. I had no more attachment to this man. I had to protect my daughter alone. Ethan kept talking about Karen, who I hadn't even asked about. She was a 24-year-old newcomer at his office, popular and beautiful. Ethan gleamed as he said, I'm leaving you, an old lady, to start a second life with someone young and cute like her. His words in his affair had hurt me deeply, but I couldn't even cry. I just wished for their misfortune. Ethan left that day with minimal belongings, saying he'd send the divorce papers once everything was settled. He didn't return the next day or the day after. He was probably staying with Karen. I started preparing for the divorce. I consulted a lawyer before filing, as I heard it's better to arrange property division beforehand. I sent Ethan's belongings to the address Karen gave and began preparing to move back to my parents' house with Lily. While clearing out the house, I found more of his stuff and contacted him. I found more of your belongings while cleaning, I said. He casually replied he'd come the next day to collect them. The following day, Ethan arrived, and to my surprise, Karen was with him. Nice to meet you, ex-wife. I'm feeling sick from morning sickness. Did you sign the divorce papers? Can you hurry up and finalize the divorce? Karen was indeed beautiful and much younger than me. Seeing Ethan holding her, seemingly pregnant, was revolting. I just wanted them to leave quickly. Here are the divorce papers and your belongings, I said, handing over the completed divorce papers. Ethan roughly signed them and handed them back. Here, make sure you file these today. Sure, I replied. With that, they left. I sighed in relief. Now I had important procedures to handle beyond the divorce. The divorce with Ethan was finalized, and I received a lump sum property division payment. It was only to be expected, given his frequent boasts about being an elite banker. A week later, I visited the bank where Ethan worked for an important matter. Ethan approached me with a smirk as I tried to proceed with my business. What, you missed me? You're hung up on me, huh? Then Karen, who was supposed to be at the reception, came out too. Oh, look who it is, the ex-wife. What are you doing here? Let me guess, you're a housewife with no money, so you're here to withdraw savings, huh? Haha. Their sarcasm was unbearable. No, I'm here to withdraw something else. What, $6 million? What? Yes, the lottery ticket I'd bought at the supermarket turned out to be a winner. When I used to buy lottery tickets with Ethan, we would excitedly check the results together. But this time, I bought it alone and didn't expect much. Casually checking the results online, I saw the message, "Congratulations on your win." I scrolled down, thinking it was just a small prize, but saw an amount I had never seen before. Prize amount $6 million. Counting the digits, I realized it was $6 million. I was in shock and just stared at the screen, unable to move. The whole day felt like a dream, and I couldn't focus on housework or childcare. The next day, I checked again on my computer, and it still showed $6 million. I followed the instructions for claiming my prize, feeling somewhat detached as if it were happening to someone else. I checked with my lawyer whether a lottery win before a divorce would be subject to property division. But since the divorce was due to Ethan's actions, and our relationship had broken down, it was not subject to division. When I explained this to them, Ethan and Karen were incredulous. What? Why didn't you say that? That's not fair. It should be part of the property division. You cheated and got your mistress pregnant, and you're saying this isn't subject to division. I've already confirmed it with my lawyer. That's a lie. Ethan raised his voice. When we were together, we never won that much. Why didn't you use your luck with me, useless wife? How can you get all that money? You said it yourself, didn't you? Being with a gloomy woman like me brings down luck. Maybe the bad luck was because of you, huh? Karen pulled at Ethan's arm, saying, "What's with this woman?" "Ethan, let's go. It doesn't matter how much money she has. Let's just leave." But Ethan didn't move and said something unbelievable. "Hey, Emily, I'm sorry. Let's get back together, huh? I was wrong to belittle you and have an affair. Let's start over." "What? What are you saying? You promised to support me and our baby. You said you loved me, and now you want to go back to your ex-wife. But with $6 million, we could quit our jobs, buy a house, a nice car, go on trips. Wouldn't that be great?" Ethan, blinded by money, proposed getting back together. His despicable words ignited a fireball of anger inside me. You are a terrible person. I couldn't believe I had spent years living with such a despicable man. I'm sorry for everything until now. I'll cherish you from now on. Let's reconsider, huh? Ethan grabbed my arm and wouldn't let go. I shouted back, "Don't you dare joke with me." He seemed surprised by my outburst and flinched. At that moment, someone from the back of the bank approached us. "Ethan, what's going on?" "Mr. Branch Manager." The person was the bank's branch manager. Ethan and Karen were flustered at his arrival. "Nothing. It's nothing." "I heard about what's been going on from a staff member. Are you sure it's nothing?" "Well, it's just that. I'll talk with you later about this and your relationship with Karen." Ethan and Karen's faces turned pale. I guess the bank wouldn't take kindly to infidelity and pregnancy scandals being openly discussed in the workplace. I watched the three of them with the thought, "Serves you right." As the branch manager approached me, he said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry for the discomfort you've experienced here." He bowed deeply to me, and Ethan and Karen followed suit, likely due to the branch manager's presence. "Oh, no, it's fine. You came to withdraw your lottery winnings, right? Let me assist you with that." Thanks to the branch manager's smooth handling, I successfully withdrew my winnings and suddenly became a millionaire. A few days later, Ethan kept calling me incessantly. I regretted not blocking his number. At first, I ignored the calls, but they were so persistent that I finally answered. "Hello, Emily. Thank goodness you answered." Ever since that day, my boss has been furious. They say having someone like you involved affects the bank's reputation. Isn't that unfair? I've worked hard all this time. I sighed heavily, understanding the situation. That boss sounds like a wise person. Maybe they think someone with your lack of character could eventually harm the bank. Ethan stuttered at my calm response. Besides, the only thing you've worked hard on is womanizing, right? Well, that's. I really couldn't care less about your precarious position at the bank. Take care. I hung up, feeling a bit more relieved. Later, I heard from an acquaintance that Ethan was demoted and transferred to a rural branch. He was punished for the scandal and disorder he caused in the bank. Karen, having witnessed the whole scene of Ethan pleading to get back with me after learning about my winnings, furiously confronted Ethan. "Actually, the baby isn't yours." "Well, maybe it's not yours. I had other marriage candidates, and I thought marrying an elite banker like you would be a good choice. But a demoted, uncertain bank employee is of no use to me. I'll marry someone better. Goodbye." She had other suitors and was only considering remarrying Ethan because she thought he was an elite banker. Once he was just an ordinary employee with an unstable position, she decided he was no longer useful and left him. Ethan was eventually abandoned by his mistress, left by his wife and child, and found his position at work in jeopardy. It was a tale more frightening than any horror story. It truly felt like a well-deserved comeuppance. As for me, with the lottery winnings, I moved to a new apartment with my daughter. While the $6 million windfall meant I could. I have chosen not to work. I decided to be cautious and soon found a job, returning to my role as a full-time caregiver. I wanted to avoid reckless spending, considering my daughter's future. However, I did indulge in a bit of luxury. I took my daughter and my parents on a trip to Hawaii, staying in a great hotel. Being able to show my gratitude to my parents and spending quality time with my daughter made it all worthwhile. Moving forward, I look forward to traveling more with my daughter, learning new things, and maybe finding new hobbies and passions. I'm excited to start this new chapter of life with my lovely daughter, living happily ever after.
My name is Laura, and I want to tell you about a part of my life that shaped me in ways I never imagined. I'm a 38-year-old real estate agent, and my life has taken me through a roller coaster of emotions and experiences. I'm still processing it all, but here's how it unfolded. 6 years ago, I was happily married to my first husband, James. He was an architect, full of ambition and dreams. But fate had other plans. One day, while working on a construction site, a terrible accident took him from me. I was left alone, navigating the world as a widow. The grief was overwhelming, and the void he left was immense. In the aftermath, I inherited around $400,000, a portion of which was shared with James's family. Financially, I was secure, but emotionally, I felt hollow. The pain of losing him was raw and relentless. I continued working, trying to keep myself busy and focused, but loneliness was my constant companion. It was during this challenging period that I met Tom. He was a cheerful and easygoing colleague in the tech industry. His laughter and optimism were like a breath of fresh air in my life. Tom had this way of making everything seem lighter, even when I was struggling internally. We became friends, and over time, his presence filled a part of my heart that I didn't realize was still aching. Tom was a former software engineer who had left his career to help his aging father. We started dating, and his charm was irresistible. It wasn't long before we decided to marry. It felt like a new beginning, a chance to rebuild and find happiness again. Tom grew up with his father, Frank, who was a 75-year-old retired entrepreneur. Frank had built several successful businesses throughout his career, but he was known for being frugal. Tom, on the other hand, never understood his father's cautious approach to money. To him, Frank seemed stingy and overly careful. After our wedding, Tom convinced me to move in with Frank. His health was declining, and he needed help with daily tasks. Tom decided to quit his job and become a full-time homemaker, taking on the responsibility of caring for his father. I supported this decision, although it meant taking on more responsibilities myself. I continued working as a real estate agent, managing both my career and the growing demands of our home life. In the beginning, Tom was attentive. He managed household chores and took care of Frank as promised. However, as time went on, his enthusiasm waned. His efforts began to dwindle, and he became increasingly lazy. The burden of housework fell on me, despite my demanding job. I found myself juggling both roles, feeling the strain of balancing work and home life, while Tom seemed indifferent to the responsibilities he had once eagerly embraced. Frank, despite his declining health, was always kind to me. He shared stories of his entrepreneurial ventures, including a project that had gone awry, a luxury textile business in Italy. It was an extravagant venture that had consumed much of Frank's wealth. He spoke of it with a mix of regret and wisdom, a reminder of the risks involved in business. Tom never appreciated his father's careful handling of money. He frequently called Frank stingy and complained about not living more lavishly. His constant dissatisfaction with Frank's frugality was a source of tension between them. Tom's attitude began to impact our relationship, and I felt caught in the middle. As Tom's laziness increased, so did his spending habits. He started using my savings to buy luxury items like designer watches and high-end electronics without asking for my permission. When I discovered that he had drained nearly $20,000 in just a few weeks, I was furious. I confronted him, demanding to know why he had been so reckless with our finances. Despite the confrontation, I hesitated to take drastic steps like filing for divorce. My main concern was Frank. He was still dependent on us for care, and I didn't want to leave him in a vulnerable position. I chose to stay, hoping things might improve, while dealing with the growing frustration of Tom's financial irresponsibility. Little did I know that the real shock was yet to come. Frank's health continued to decline, and it was clear that his time was drawing near. The atmosphere in the house grew heavier, and Tom's dissatisfaction became more pronounced. As we approached the end, I was unaware of the storm that was brewing beneath the surface, waiting to unravel everything I thought I knew about our lives. Frank passed away quietly one evening, his departure marking the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter for me and Tom. It was a somber time, and the house felt emptier than ever. The funeral was filled with mourners, and as we moved through the formalities, Tom's demeanor was unsettlingly calm. He seemed detached, almost too composed. In the days following the funeral, something changed in Tom. He was suddenly more focused on the financial side of things, and his attitude became increasingly arrogant. It was then that he revealed his true intentions. "I need to talk to you about something important," Tom said one afternoon, his tone carrying an edge I hadn't heard before. "What is it?" I asked, sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Tom handed me a stack of papers. "I've been thinking. Since Frank is gone, I believe there's a significant inheritance coming our way. I've done some calculations, and I'm confident it's around $200 million. I was stunned. $200 million? How did you come to that figure? Tom leaned back, a smug smile on his face. Frank's business ventures were risky, but he was wealthy. I've looked into things, and it seems that this amount is what he left behind. I was confused, but Frank always spoke about the failed textile business in Italy. He lost a lot of money on that. Tom waved his hand dismissively. That's just what he wanted us to believe. The real money is tied up elsewhere. The more Tom spoke, the more uneasy I became. It felt like he was spinning a tale to suit his own narrative. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something off about his claims. Tom's behavior became more erratic. He started making grand plans about how we would spend the inheritance. Designer clothes, luxury vacations, and high-end cars were all part of his vision. He made no effort to hide his excitement, and it was clear that he had already spent a significant amount of money in his mind. One day, I discovered that Tom had been using our savings to buy extravagant items without consulting me. There were receipts for designer watches, top-tier electronics, and even a high-end sports car. When I confronted him about it, he brushed off my concerns with a wave of his hand. It's all going to be worth it, Laura. Once the inheritance comes through, we'll have more than enough, he said with a dismissive tone. I felt a sinking feeling in my stomach. Despite the confrontation, I was torn. The idea of leaving Tom while dealing with Frank's estate seemed daunting. I was worried about the impact on Frank's legacy and the potential chaos that could ensue. Tom's spending continued unabated. He drained nearly $20,000 from our savings in just a few weeks, leaving me feeling helpless and betrayed. I confronted him again, but his response was always the same, assurances that everything would be fine once the inheritance came through. As the days turned into weeks, the tension between us grew. Tom's laziness was now matched by his reckless spending. He was more focused on his imagined fortune than on the reality of our situation. I felt increasingly isolated and frustrated, struggling to balance my job and the responsibilities at home while Tom did nothing to help. It was clear that Tom's expectations were unrealistic. He continued to live in a fantasy world where $200 million was just around the corner, while the reality of our finances and his irresponsible behavior weighed heavily on me. One evening, as I was going through some paperwork, I came across a document from Frank's lawyer. It was an outline of Frank's financial situation and estate planning. My heart raced as I read through the details. The luxury textile business in Italy had indeed consumed a significant portion of Frank's wealth, but what caught my eye was the information about collateral for debts.
It was clear now.
The $200 million Tom had been counting on was actually tied up as collateral for Frank's failed business venture. The real inheritance amounted to only $40,000, a modest sum compared to Tom's expectations. I felt a mix of relief and dread. The truth was finally out, and it was worse than I had imagined. Tom's fantasies were about to come crashing down, and I had to confront the reality of our situation. The day came when Frank's estate was to be settled. Tom was exuberant, making grand plans for the future. I remained quiet, knowing that the truth would soon shatter his illusions. As Tom eagerly awaited the inheritance, I prepared myself for the inevitable confrontation. The day arrived when the estate details were to be finalized, and the air was thick with anticipation. Tom had been eagerly preparing for what he was certain would be the beginning of a new, opulent chapter in his life. I, on the other hand, had spent the past few days grappling with the truth of Frank's financial situation and the reality of the inheritance. Tom's optimism was palpable as he paraded around the house, discussing future plans that included lavish vacations, a new mansion, and luxury vehicles. I could barely contain my anxiety. I knew that the truth would hit Tom like a freight train, and I had no idea how he would react. That morning, Tom was in high spirits, confident that his calculations and expectations would be confirmed. We had a meeting with Frank's lawyer to finalize the estate matters. Tom was dressed in his best suit, exuding a misplaced confidence that only made my unease grow. As we sat in the lawyer's office, the tension was almost unbearable. The lawyer, Mr. Harrison, started by reviewing the financial documents and discussing the estate distribution. Tom leaned forward, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat and began. As per the last will and testament of Frank Collins, the estate has been evaluated, and the assets are allocated as follows. Tom's excitement was evident, and he barely let Mr. Harrison finish his sentences. But as the lawyer continued, it became clear that Tom's expectations were about to be shattered. Due to Frank's failed business venture in Italy, a substantial portion of his wealth was used as collateral for debts. Consequently, the majority of the $200 million is tied up in debt repayment, Mr. Harrison explained. Tom's face fell.
What?
That can't be right. There must be some mistake. I watched as Tom's world crumbled before my eyes. Mr. Harrison continued calmly. The real net inheritance amounts to $40,000. The rest is encumbered by the debts from the failed venture. Tom's anger erupted. This can't be happening. I've already spent so much, expecting a fortune. There's no way this is true. The lawyer tried to maintain his composure. I understand this is a difficult situation, Mr. Collins, but the financial details are accurate. The debts were substantial, and Frank's assets were used to cover them. Tom's frustration boiled over. You have to be kidding me. I've been living in a fantasy for months, thinking I was going to be rich. How could Frank do this? I felt a pang of sympathy mixed with relief. I knew how devastating this was for Tom, but I also knew it was the harsh reality he needed to face. The facade of a golden future was crumbling, and the weight of his own greed was becoming painfully evident. Tom stormed out of the office, his face flushed with rage and disbelief. I followed him, trying to keep my composure. As we got into the car, Tom's anger was palpable. He started shouting, his words a mix of curses and accusations. "This is all your fault," he yelled. "You knew about the debts, didn't you? You kept this from me." I was taken aback. "Tom, I didn't know for sure. I only discovered the truth recently. I tried to warn you." Tom's anger didn't subside. "You should have told me earlier." Now I'm left with nothing because of you. I remained silent, realizing that no amount of explanation would change Tom's perception. His world was in ruins, and he was desperately looking for someone to blame. That evening, Tom was a different person. The person who had been so optimistic and full of grand plans was now a shadow of himself. He was bitter, disillusioned, and struggling to accept the reality of his situation. I could see how much his own expectations had clouded his judgment and led him to squander our resources. Tom tried to reach out to me, begging for another chance. "Laura, please. I was wrong. I spent too much, and I thought we were going to be wealthy. Can we work something out?" I looked at him with a mix of sadness and determination. "Tom, you can't keep blaming others for your mistakes. You had your chance to be honest and responsible, but you chose to live in a fantasy. I can't continue like this." His pleas continued, but I was resolute. I had seen enough. The man I had married was not the person I thought I knew. His greed and entitlement had blinded him to reality, and now he was paying the price. The $40,000 that remained from Frank's estate felt like a small consolation prize compared to the grand dreams Tom had built up. It was a modest sum, but it was enough for me to start anew. I knew I had to move on, to find my own path away from the chaos and betrayal that had marked my marriage. As Tom struggled to cope with his financial reality, I began making plans to move out. It was a difficult decision, but I felt it was necessary for my own well-being. The journey ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to face it with courage and resilience. As I prepared to leave the house for the last time, the weight of the past few months settled heavily on my shoulders. Tom's reaction to the estate's reality had been explosive and unsettling, and now, as I packed up the last of my belongings, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I'd come from the person I was when we first met. The small apartment I had rented was modest, but comfortable. It was a far cry from the grand houses Tom had dreamed of, but it represented a new beginning, a chance to rebuild my life on my own terms. I had managed to set aside the $40,000 inheritance from Frank, and while it wasn't a fortune, it was enough to start fresh. Tom, meanwhile, was spiraling further into despair. The realization that the $200 million was nothing more than a myth had hit him hard. He had already spent much of his savings in anticipation of the inheritance, and now, with only the $40,000 to fall back on, he faced a bleak financial future. I'd seen him on a few occasions after the estate meeting, but he was barely recognizable as the man I had married. His once bright and hopeful demeanor had been replaced with a defeated and bitter attitude. One afternoon, a week after the estate fiasco, I received a call from Tom. His voice was tinged with desperation. "Laura, I'm struggling. I've been trying to get by, but it's not working. I can't keep up with my bills. Can you help me?" I was torn. On one hand, I felt a pang of sympathy for him. On the other, I had to remind myself of the reason I left. "Tom, I've been trying to move on and find my own path. I'm not in a position to help you financially. You need to figure things out on your own." He sighed heavily. "I get it. I've made mistakes, and I'm paying for them now. I'm sorry for everything." It was the first time he had truly admitted his faults to me. His apology was a small step, but it didn't change the fact that our lives had diverged irreparably. I hoped he would use this moment of clarity to turn his life around, but I couldn't be a part of that process. With the apartment set up and my job continuing to provide a stable income, I found a sense of peace in my new routine. I had started to reconnect with old friends and rediscover interests that had been overshadowed during my marriage. It was an empowering experience, one that reminded me of my own strength and resilience. A few months later, I received a letter from Frank's lawyer. It was a brief but kind note, acknowledging the difficult situation and offering a small token of appreciation for my support during Frank's final days. Enclosed was a check for $5,000. It was a generous gesture, but more than that, it symbolized Frank's acknowledgement of my role in his life. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a reminder that even in the face of betrayal, there were still small acts of kindness and recognition. Tom's situation, on the other hand, continued to deteriorate. I heard from mutual acquaintances that he had taken a part-time job, struggling to make ends meet. His financial troubles were compounded by his inability to cope with the reality of his situation. I knew that Tom had always been driven by a desire for wealth and status, and without the inheritance he had so eagerly anticipated, he was left grappling with his own sense of worth. As time went on, I began to see the benefits of the choices I had made. The independence I had fought for was more than just financial, it was a reclaiming of my own life and identity. I felt a renewed sense of purpose and clarity. The lessons learned from my relationship with Tom and the betrayal I had endured had strengthened me. I knew that I could face whatever challenges came my way with resilience and self-awareness. One evening, as I sat in my new apartment, looking out over the city, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The pain and hardship I had experienced were now distant memories, overshadowed by the strength I had gained. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. Tom's story was a cautionary tale of greed and entitlement, a reminder of how easily one could be blinded by the lure of easy money and false promises. My story was one of recovery and self-discovery. I had learned to value myself beyond material wealth and had found peace in living authentically. As I closed the door to the apartment and stepped into the night, I felt a sense of finality and freedom. The future was uncertain, but it was mine to shape. I walked confidently into the city, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that I had emerged from the shadows of my past stronger and wiser.